Hey there, and welcome to week 35. Okay, 35. That's right, 35. And I have to tell you, this is actually funny. It happens to me all the time. I don't know about you, but whenever you're trying to run out of the house or something and you look for your keys and you're like, where are my keys? And you're running everywhere and they're in your hand. Okay, that didn't happen here. Wish it did, but it just did. Seriously, it just did. Okay, so I was looking for the cards, right? I was like going, oh, where is this week's card? And I'm like, it's not here, and it's right here. Okay. There you have it. So I want to show you this week's card, which is the expansion card. And there's a bunch of things to tell you about this particular fable. It's the fable of Sky God. And one of the things that happens in this fable is the Council of the Great Spirits actually come together to support Sky God in naming his sky. This is actually I want to say this is one of the few fables that has all of the great spirits in it, and including the great servant in this fable. Now, a couple things I want to point out about expansion is that the title of the fable is actually Sky Blue, but a couple things that I always say to people when this fable appears, when the card appears, is that this is really about expanding your circle of influence, so to speak, for lack of a better way of putting it. But the other thing that it's really about that sometimes people miss is it's that lonely up-leveling part of your life. So it's the part of your time period. You know, it's like I joke a lot where it's like, yeah, when a window closes, a door opens, but the hallways are a bitch, okay? So it's kind of that time when a lot of times when I have clients come and I'm doing a reading, and this is really when I was doing many more readings in the past than I do now, this card would come up and I'd say, are you really are you like feeling alone right now? Like you're letting a lot of people go out of your life? And almost always the person say yes. And that's because if we look at the bridge between the vanity card in 34 and the bridge here to 35 of Sky God, what are we looking at energetically? Well, Sky God is the fifth card. Fifth card, fifth chakra. So it is going to be one of the most, I want to say, expressive cards in this chakra, which makes sense because it's the fifth card. Ditto when you have like the fourth chakra, right? And when we were working on the 7 cards in the fourth chakra, the fourth card becomes the card that represents that chakra. So that's what's going on here with the expansion card. Now, let's talk about some of the nuances about it that I wanted to share with you. And you'll notice that that one of the things that really hit me in this particular story, especially because it's Wayne Dyer, and I love Wayne Dyer, the focus this week, the quote from the angel was, "You'll see it when you believe it." And I have to tell you that he was saying that, and it's funny. There's also a fable in here that says, "Why can't we all just get along?" You know, actually, I don't know that is in here anymore. Wait a minute. Okay, but anyway, I digress. Okay, so when you see it, you'll see it when you believe it. Most people say, "I'll believe that when I see it," but the inspirational, the intuitive person says, "I will. I know that I'll see it when I believe it. So when I believe in something, it's going to show up. When I'm invested in it." Okay, so the actual word is expansion, and it's interesting for me because it is about expanding your capacity to receive, and also you're going to notice in this fable how the great spirits, the council here that appear in this fable, really are about holding space for Sky God to name his own sky. So I really want you to notice how that occurs in this fable, because I do believe that is a key point of this story. Okay, so the couple things that I think are important, I always look at when I'm talking to you, when I'm sharing on the week. Here we go again. Okay. I like to look and see if I'm aligned with what I'm telling you here. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not, but it says this week we look at who we choose to communicate with. I think that the most important part about this is that the people we allow into our life are going to perceive us through the filter of how they process their own life. So keeping in mind that those people exist, that's going to be key, is that the idea of up-leveling the people you surround yourself with and the people who think higher of you than the past is because you're thinking highly of yourself. And therefore, as that up levels, you're going to have that same experience with the people around you. I'm just writing a note because I'm like, oh gosh, I want to address this too. Okay. So, and part of this also is that, you know, it comes back to you can communicate with someone who is on that same level with you. It's very hard to really have that connection with someone that is not on that level with you. And in fact, when you're up leveling from a prior level to a, you know, to, and I say prior to higher, I'm not trying to put down any old friends or anything like that, but sometimes it's like they go or grow. You know, they're in a certain position, you're in a different position, and life just takes us downstream or upstream, whichever way we go. And so when I say up level, a lot of times that means that I find that people who come to me are often coming to me because they feel stuck and they want to get to that next level. And it really is about pulling back and allowing that space to see where they really are so that they're not afraid to take the next steps. And that's what this is about. Okay, so let's take a look. And of course, I feel like, you know, here I go again, take my glasses off. Okay, let's see. Remember that one of the indications at this time, especially when this occurs, is who is showing up in your life to support you. Are there people who show up to be there, or are there people who are showing up and you're like, that person's really not like someone I want to be around? Think about that too. Okay, let's see. Okay. Oh. Yeah. Remember that the best part of yourself will be this card really represents, or this fable, if you will, really represents attracting people around you who actually have the best part of you in mind. Like you're attracting the best part of yourself in other people at this time. And that is really your opportunity to say, not so much how do I get to that next level, but you want to start asking, and the inquiry now is, how do I communicate as if I am at that level, and therefore I will bring it into my world? Because remember, fifth chakra, fifth card, what you're sending out there is what you're going to get back. And here Sky God has a group of his peers that show up to give him information. And that's important for you because you're going to notice who's showing up and whether or not they're supportive of you, because that's the key to this particular week is, what am I communicating that is showing up in my world? Am I frustrated by people around me, or am I being uplifted by people around me? And it's not either or, there could be other nuances. However, when it comes to this fable, it's super important to get that there is a message that you send out that you are creating. And the nothingness, sometimes, you know, it's that, I say this all the time, right? It's the sound between the notes that is the music. Sometimes we rush down the hall to open the door, when the truth is it's the journey from the open window that's closed to the closed door to allow it to open. And it is the journey that counts, not the idea that that door is going to open. But because you see, if we're so focused on what we need down the road, like, oh, I need that door to open, we're not going to be in the journey of who we are and how we feel in this experience, because that is going to dictate whether or not you will allow yourself people with a higher energetic capacity into your life. Okay. So again, here we are, right, with the, let me look at this, make sure, okay, good. So one of the things that, I think I see, I said this, okay. You know, one of the things that happens with some people is, you know, and I don't know if you're this way or not, I'm not trying to put it on you, but some people have a real issue with asking for support. And the reason is because they've been told what to do for so long, they don't want to get more advice. However, one of the things we can learn to do, and I think this becomes crucial here, is really express how we need feedback, how we need support. And that's an important part of, you know, setting your intention is, I really want to, and I even say this to friends, I'll say, you know, I'm going to share something with you, and what I need is I need you to, if you can, just hold space for me and not give me advice, because it's somewhat tender, and I feel like if you tell me what to do, I'm going to be angry at you, and I'm just angry, and I need to hear myself say it, and I need the space held. Can you do that? 99.9% of the time people do, you know, oh yeah, that's fine. And I do that too. You know, when clients come or people come to talk to me, even when I owned a business, I would sit down with somebody and I'd say, before you tell me this story or what have you, how would you like me to support you during this conversation? And that gave the other person an opportunity to really think about what their expectation was. Because most of the time we're going into a conversation with some expectation of what we need, and we're not getting it. And I think the immature thing is to consistently not get it. And then we kind of go, well, that's great. They didn't give me anything. And the thing is that you set yourself up to fail by not setting the parameter and the request for what you actually need. So, you know, people say, well, what do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. And I'll say, okay, here's the deal. I want you to share with me whatever you need to share with me. However, I want you also to feel supported. So I'd like to know if you want feedback from me, or do you want me to just listen and then you decide? And the person almost always says, you know, I just need you to listen. Okay. So I'll listen to the whole thing, whatever it is. And then I'll say, you know, would you like feedback, or do you want me to just, again, are you still wanting me just to listen? And sometimes people say, I just want you to listen. I'm like, okay. And I can drop it. Like, I don't need to go, well, I need to tell you something. I don't need to tell them anything, because when they tell me to drop it, that's what they want from me, because they've asked that of me. The hardest thing we do is ask for and then also honor what people have requested. You know, and sometimes people say, you know what, I've changed my mind. I really do want to hear what you have to say, but, you know, I don't want advice, or no, that's fine. So what I've heard you say is that you are not happy with the way we are handling this in the office. Is that accurate? And yeah, that's what I feel. Okay. And how can we shift that? Do you have any ideas? So for me, it becomes a dialogue with the other person, because the fifth chakra is a communication tool. Everything about the fifth chakra is, how can I communicate with you what my needs are, and then listen to what you need from me. And, you know, I've had, especially because I've hired people in my life, you know, I've had people come in and go, I'm going to need this, this, and this. And I'll say, you know what, we just don't do that. It's just not in the capacity of what we do. And I think that it's best, you know, if you really consider, if that's what you need, then start looking elsewhere. Or if you can work within the parameter of what we do, then that's fine. And, you know, people made their choices, and whatever it was like, sometimes it was hard for me to accept it, but I still did it with as much dignity as I could. Okay. And I think that that's the key. That's the key to communication. And that's the key to this particular card. And remember that when you're sharing with people, when you're sharing these fables, or you're sharing stories, you know, it's your story that matters. It's knowing the fable helps you, I want to say, identify with the ideas of it, but it really is your story that matters, you know? And I think that that's kind of the, I think that's basically the full skinny. So, okay. So the color reflection, of course, sky blue is sky blue, right? So and we know that sky blue has a sense of tranquility, and it's a very cooling sense of our emotions. But that doesn't mean that it can't be from a powerful place. It just means that it's generally not a shouting match when this is going on. It means that there's a natural, I want to say, evolution and a time to let go of certain things. So, okay, so I really think that one of the things you want to look at in this particular fable, and I really like this in the color reflection, and by the way, it's so funny because it's like years later that I'm looking at this, sometimes I don't even remember what's in the book. I'm not kidding. You know, I've had people come up to me and go, you know, you said that. I go, I did. Like, I don't know. And, you know, we're constantly evolving. We're constantly shifting and changing. And sometimes I'll say something that in that moment I held as true. And then as time has gone on, I go, you know, I've changed my mind. And I think that we have to like have that expansive thing of nothing's set in stone. And I'm open to what people have to say. And there are times I'll say, no, I'm not going to change my mind, but I do understand where you're coming from. So that said, okay, in the color reflection, it talks about, and this is interesting, notice how your voice, your energy, and your very intention in conversation may shift to create a totally relaxed connection. You know, when we let go of the agenda of the conversation and we stop trying to make the other person dance at our will, right? And basically guess as to what we need just by saying, you know, and I'll say that I have certain friends that are like fixers, you know, those people, and they get on, they go, oh, no, you shouldn't do it this way. You got to do this, this, and this. And I go, okay. So I've nipped it in the bud with some of those friends. And I said, listen, I need to share what's going on with me about something, but I really don't want any fixing, no feedback, no advice. Are you capable of doing that? And I've had some people say to me, I don't know. I don't know if I could do that. And I'm like, totally cool. Let's talk about something else. And they're like, well, no, I want to hear it. And I'm like, you know what? I know what I need, and you know who you are. And I thought I'd request it. And it's okay that you're not who I need you to be in this moment. See, that kind of communication speaks the truth from wherever we're coming from. So that's very important. Now, in the journal journey, the Wednesday, and I'm going through each of the days here just very quickly, I think we have to look at sometimes moving forward in our life can feel very overwhelming, and letting go of things that have been in the past are challenging. So I often do written exercises, and in the book here, I do suggest writing a letter to your angel. You can write it to your spirit guide. You can write it to the character on the card, you know, and I go into a lot more depth about that in the How to Read the Cards for Yourself and Others, because that book really has more of the, you know, I want to say intuitive tools, whereas this really gives you the tools for yourself that has broader intuitive tools for the actual deck. And once you've done this work, so it really is kind of that next intended step on the journey, if that's what you choose to do. Now, of course, Thursday is the solo exercise or the group exercise, and let me see. So one of the things I loved about this group exercise, and I actually really remember when we created it, because it was just like somebody in our mastermind group kept sitting there going, oh, and this has happened, and this has happened, and, you know, we like it didn't come across right or whatever, and you know, I just can't break through, I can't make things happen. And I said, okay. And everybody's like, I go, okay. Is there anything else you need from us? And there was like a pause, and everybody's like, well, shouldn't we try to help this person? And I said, I don't know. And everybody's like, well, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, if something has eluded you and you're telling us that it's eluded you and you actually know what it is, then wouldn't the problem actually have the solution built in? And everybody's like, like, because I was like very much like that in the group. And they were like, and so the person was like, Tori, can you tell me what, so I said, why don't we try an exercise? And this is how this exercise came about. I said, how about I play the person, I play you, all right? And I'm going to tell you all the reasons that this has eluded you. So I'm going to be the thing that got away, right? So I'm going to be the thing that keeps avoiding you. And you're going to dialogue with me, and you're going to tell me how to work with this experience. And they're like, what? When you read the exercise, you'll know too. But basically what came about is we started with that, and it was like, I started saying, okay, I started first. I was like, oh, well, this hasn't happened because, I'm not connected in Hollywood. I don't know people. And of course, I didn't believe any of that, but that was the energy I was picking up. And so I just fed it back. And he was like, whoa, wait a second. No, you are connected. You do know some people. And I'm like who? And slowly, over the course of me playing, if you will, the alter ego or the aspect, and I get more into aspects in that other book, but this is great for this moment because you will find a lot of the work that comes up in How to Read the Cards, which is the next book. You're going to find a lot of the basis for it here. So as we started talking, I started being the thing that was eluding him. And I was like, well, you really don't want me. He's like, what? Of course I do. Okay, well then, why aren't you blah, blah, blah. And I just naturally stepped into the role of the very thing he wanted that he couldn't, felt he couldn't get. And slowly over the course of this 20-minute exercise, everybody was like, because he came up with it. He said, well, I don't want that. I don't want to be embarrassed because I've written something about my family. So let me ask you something. So you're writing a story about your family, but you don't want to be embarrassed by the story of your family, so you're not going to write about your family? It's like, got it. And I said, there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with not wanting to do that. The thing that becomes a problem for us is when we start going, well, it just, if I wanted to, I could. You just don't want to, and that's okay. Well, ultimately, he did go on and write the story because he had cleared what was not working for him, and he found his own solutions. And so if you really look at what expansion is all about, it really is about expanding your wisdom, expanding your capacity to receive. And that was part of his issue too, because what if he got bigger, So I think when you look at all of those ideas, you're going to begin to understand how this week fits into your life. And of course, the meditation is always something I recommend. And I think I've said this before, but you can definitely go in, record the meditation yourself. I mean, now with these gizmos, we've got so much stuff. Go in and record your own meditation. And guess what? It'll be fantastic. And you could just read it, you read it into the device and you listen back to it, and you can step into the meditation on your own. So there you have it. Have a great week. And what I'd like to hear from you down below is, how have you found ways to step out of your comfort zone? And also in this dialogue, in our conversation today, what hit you the most? What did you see that maybe shifted your perspective just a little bit and gave you a new way to perceive how to move forward in your own life? And I will see you next week. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe we're in 36. Don't even start. See